It's been definitely amazing to see the progress of everybody's PBs over the course of the tournament. Like, it's only been a week, but we're already seeing so much improvement. And,
not to mention like 5 or 6 PBs in race matches so far.
Yeah.
Absolutely
just crazy. With the craziest being Hydras, right? Like, for somebody to take second place in the world in a race.
With the strats he was doing, no less. He was doing extremely gutsy strats. By far, one of the best Ori runs. Clearly it's the second fastest one ever done, but absolutely one of the most exciting.
Yeah, considering the circumstances. Whew. Well, it looks like the next race is just about ready, so we'll try to get it started right at 5. Right before we do that, let's do a quick look at the two runners again. So on the left side, we've got Fant TV, and on the right side, we've got Raziel. Fant is a relatively new runner. Basically, he got into it because J-Hob showed it to him at AGDQ. This is one of his first few speedrun experiences. He has run Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze before, but he self-described he's not super especially good at it. So he's still kind of like a pretty newbie speedrunner. But he's going to be going for a fair few things in this run. He said he's going to go for stuff like the early Moon Grotto cycle and fast Stompless. So we're going to see. He put down as his goal for the tournament, take out Hetfield in the finals and get the world record in the process.
You know what? I like the attitude. He's not going to let anything intimidate.
Oh, goodness. And then Rue, who I believe you'll be joining me for commentary on this upcoming race. Tell us a little bit about Raziel.
Actually, I believe Jay Hobbs is going to be joining you on.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there he is. I think Bruce and I are going to be taking off, and it's going to be you doing the race.
Okay, sure. Sounds good.
All right. Welcome on that note, I'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you very much for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my commentary, and I'll be back for more. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's enjoy some more races. Later, guys.
Indeed. Thanks very much, Roos. And thank you, Sonic, for joining us tonight.
Not a problem.
Welcome in, J-Hops. How are you doing?
Excellent job. I'm doing well. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty all right. I'm quite excited for some more tournament action.
Yeah, me too. I think Sonic was just not quite feeling too good at the moment, so I'm filling in for him. But I hope I do him justice and do a good job in his place. Of course, for those of you watching who watched earlier, you heard both Voolgen and I together in the GDQ Hotfix stream. And I think this is going to be a bit different race, but probably a much more volatile one with a lot more potential lead changes.
Yeah, we'll see. I definitely know that Raziel is a little bit concerned about his level of play, and hopefully that won't be a huge problem for him, but Fanta, I'm sure, will be looking to capitalize. I believe we're getting started very soon here.
Excellent. Yeah, you mentioned it before, but basically, here we go. We're off, actually. I'm not even going to go into it. We'll be getting the sync caught up in a little bit. It looks like we have a bit more delay on Raz, but don't worry. We'll get that all sorted out for you. But yeah, you touched on it before, but Fant really only picked up this game because at the last AGDQ 2017, I told Fant to come play it and learn it and join the tournament. So it ended up working out, and he has been dropping his time quite fast. I mean, his goal was sub 50 before the tournament, and I believe he's gotten down to like a 44 or 42 now.
Yeah, he's currently on the leaderboard with a 47-46, actually, although he might have an unsubmitted PB. That's always a question.
Yeah,
sometimes people have been
PBs.
Yeah, people are getting so often that they just don't even have time to submit to the leaderboard yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a good one. I'm loving getting here into what is probably, I think, like hour 7 or so, or hour 5 of Ori today. Man,
this has been
hour
my entire
7
day.
The end of it, yeah. But I'm loving it. It's fantastic, and I'm loving the enthusiasm that everyone has been taking to this tournament. I mean, this is group stages. This isn't even, the bracket. It's not the semifinals. It's not the finals. This is group stage where nobody's getting eliminated out of group stage. We're actually using it to start a seeding for a single elimination bracket. So the amount of excitement that everybody has had, pretty much the entire Ori community has been watching all of these races, and it's just been blowing me away, the kind of support that we get out of this community. So we love you all.
Agreed. So we've picked up, Fant and Raziel have both picked up Spirit Flame. We are well on our way here. They're both, of course, going to be working on their XP route. Raziel looked like he took a damage that I think he wanted to take from that slime.
Fant as well.
Yep. So they're both on pretty good XP and HP pace, as far as I can tell. See if Raziel has enough HP. Yeah, he does.
Fant actually got lucky and got an energy drop earlier on the first experience drop, so he stacked some animations there. So when he got a second energy drop, it didn't cause a pickup animation. One of those small little pieces of RNG that kind of worked out in his favor in this case. But yeah, still getting a little bit of a lead.
Fortunately, it doesn't matter too much in terms of whether you get those like micro optimizations on this segment. It'll prevent you from getting like a gold, like a new best segment time on this segment, but fortunately that doesn't matter too much in the context of a race.
Yeah, of course not. Just one of those small little things that always drives you nuts when it happens, even though it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of funny how with a lot of the late game, everything moves so rapidly that if you lose 3 seconds somewhere but don't die, you can you can sit there and be relieved, have a sigh of relief. But in the early game, if you have to take 1 extra damage to start up a ghost door, it's going to drive you nuts, even though you're losing a half of a second or less. Just kind of how optimized some of this early game is.
Indeed. So neither of the runners having a particularly hard time here. Fant coming in to wall jump just a couple seconds behind Raziel, but they're both on pretty good pace so far. Raziel with the 328 for his wall jump, and Fant coming in around a 333. Not too bad.
Not bad at all. I know Fant, just recently was getting 345s, 350, and was very happy with those. So now to be getting a 333 here, I'm sure he's extremely excited about that. Both will be moving their way back towards Blackroot Burrows, a notoriously dangerous area. So we may end up seeing a death early and could potentially see a lead change or a larger gap in the lead.
Yeah, I don't think we saw too many of these kind of deaths in the GQ Hotfix show earlier, and I think the worst thing we've seen so far since starting on Speed Gaming today is Randomson leveling the wrong ability. The big thing for less experienced runners at this point in the game is just being able to deal with stuff happening. And it's actually kind of unfortunate because the runners who are less likely to have really bad stuff happen to them are the more experienced runners. But the more experienced runners are also the ones that are going to have the knowledge to be able to come up with a backup strat. You see Fant actually picking up the health there from that flower. That he might have felt that he just took some extra damage somewhere, and he just wanted to make sure that it was going to be safe.
Yeah, not a bad decision by any means. The extra experience isn't going to cause any issue. Or rather, he went with the HP flower, didn't he?
Yeah.
My mistake. I was looking at Raziel's screen at that time. Raziel just did the save anywhere for the cutscene skip. Looks like he made it no problem. Fant has gotten a lot faster at the save anywhere menuings. It's actually pretty difficult. I know Fant runs on controller, and at first it's pretty difficult to do the save anywhere. You have to adjust your hand in order to be able to press 2 buttons at the same time in a kind of awkward location for your natural controller grip, and being able to get to do it quickly especially without keybinds, because I'm not sure Fant uses any. Is extremely impressive.
Not only that, but if you accidentally go a little slow on the menu on a controller, which menuing on like a radial menu with a controller D-pad is really confusing, and it doesn't always behave the way you would expect. And if you just happen to be late leveling up that ability, you'll end up with the cutscene playing out and controlling your camera while you try to advance. So you just can't play like that, so you have to wait. And the effect is you basically don't actually skip the cutscene.
Yeah, some of the later cutscene skips, you actually get put into a different location entirely, which is not what you want, and would require some really backup strats to try to fix. So luckily, nothing like that happening early on here. It looks like our runners aren't having too much of an issue through Blackroot Burrows. I can't tell. I don't think Fant quite made the early cycle. It looks like he was a little bit slow. Raz making his way through nicely, though.
Yeah, I think Fant just got held up a little bit on one of the platforms, taking a hit from projectile. So he just needed to wait a little bit. But he played it right, and he did not take a death, which is always helpful. So he'll take that over the extra cycle any day.
So what you're telling me is literally better than some of the GDQ hotfix runners. Because I know we saw one or two then.
Now.
We like to kid. We like to kid. But yeah, we've got Raz coming up to the cutscene now, right before dash. A little bit of the... Oh no, Fant actually jumped and fell. Jumped a bit too early on that platform. He got really quickly back on the platform, so at least he didn't have to wait an entire another cycle. So I don't believe this will be any more time lost than if he had effectively just missed one cycle at the beginning. Just a little bit, I think he got a little ahead of himself, was just trying to save the frames and instead lost the seconds, which is something that I probably taught him because I have done that myself way too often. I don't know about you, but I always go for saving the frames and end up losing the seconds.
Always save the frames at the cost of the seconds. Always save the seconds at the cost of the minutes, right?
Of course.
So presumably, let's have some fast Frankie walk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Raziel took 2 damage there, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit risky. So when he comes up to the Frankie walk here and has to take the damage boost over the spikes actually have 2 different hitboxes that matter for us anyways. One of them deals 1 HP's worth of damage, and the other deals 2 HP. And if you're not the most experienced runner, you may not be too familiar with that, or you may just accidentally hit the two damage ones. So hopefully Raz noticed that and knows where to jump. It looks like he's fine.
Yeah,
he got hit
fine.
with only 1 HP, so nice job.
Yeah,
from
Raziel
him.
was a pretty experienced runner, so I definitely would have expected him to be able to pick out the 1 HP spikes versus the 2, and he showed that he definitely can. Fant takes a safety save at the Spirit Well. Never a bad idea to do that. That 1 damage that you take from the slime escaping BRB just puts you to 3, and it just makes things a little more scary, and sometimes healing that up is not a bad plan.
Yeah, especially because he ended up getting hit by the slime afterwards. So Fant being far newer, only a couple weeks old at this point for this game, really good that he doesn't have to worry about the 2 versus 1 HP damage of the spikes. Raz taking some damage in the Death Gauntlet, but I think he'll be okay. We'll see if he drops a safety save.
He's got 1 health. He probably will not drop a safety save, knowing him. He's going for the early cycle in Grotto now.
Earlier, I believe.
Is he going to get it? No, he didn't get quite the wall jumps that he needed. You need to get a very precise set of wall jumps in order to do that, and Raziel just didn't get what he needed. Fant, meanwhile, clean Frankie walk, no problem for him. He gets under the Frankie, he doesn't get dunked, so he is good. He's in the death run, should be fine.
One would hope, but
well, yeah,
he's called the death run
on everything he's trying to do. He does make a slight mistake there, but he's okay. He didn't get crushed, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like Raz took a death on the way to double jump. Not going to be too costly of one. There is a safety save. Oh, a second one, though. That hopefully he'll be able to...
Yeah, that the little arcing jump around that spiky area is a little bit scary, and sometimes it just goes wrong. So the 3rd time he opted to just jump all the way across the wall, which is like... This is like the pinnacle of save the frames, lose the minutes kind of thing, where... You really don't need to do that arcing jump. It saves like 1 second tops.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just looks really nice, though. You kind of have to.
Fant, meanwhile, he checked his HP. He sets up his ghost door. He's having a little trouble getting something to kill him, but there he pulled it off. So that's one of the annoyances of ghost door is it's not. Sometimes it's not as scary to set your H. Oh, that's a costly death to take right before double jump, and another one too in quick succession. Sometimes it's very easy to kind of, if you take one of those quick deaths, it's very easy to just get caught in an infinite briefly.
Yeah, it's one of those things about this game. It's kind of like Grotto Skip, which Raz is having a bit of trouble with as well. If you mess it up once, you're likely to kind of keep messing it up a little bit, and that's especially after you have dash, are very much like that in this game. It's quite easy to...
Fan fell. Okay, it looked like he fell in the water, but he's all right now.
He managed to make his way out. Yeah, seeing that screen flash red is always terrifying.
Yep. Raziel had a little bit of trouble with Grotto skip, but he managed to pull it off, so he's already at the top of the cave-in and doing his safe glitch to skip the cutscene with Gumo.
Yep, not going to be having too many issues from here on out, hopefully. If he did take some damage, which I don't think he did, then he could have some problems coming out of Moon Grotto, but Raz, a bit more experienced, as you mentioned, shouldn't have too many issues. Vance working on Grotto skip.
Second try?
Not bad at all.
That's pretty solid. That's one of the markers for like a newer runner, is to see how kind of they're able to get used to Grotto skip, because that's one of the more precise tricks in the game, even though it's generally considered not all that hard, and it's very easy to miss it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, absolutely. Making their way to Ginso now. Not too much to say here. We've been watching about 4 hours of races already, so I'm sure a lot of you are pretty caught up with the tricks in the route at this point. In which case, you should come learn the game and join with us in the next tournament. What category do you think we're doing the next tournament in, Buljan? Because there's got to be another one.
Dude, please let me get through this one first.
Fair enough.
Raziel getting through the rock, no problem. Doesn't meet any unfortunate incidents at the hands of the Spike Crushers there. So he's all good.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to have an easy time of that cutscene skip as well. So coming into Ginso now, this is again, we mentioned a very vertically oriented dungeon, which is so different from the rest of the game that it can be a little difficult to optimize your movement sometimes. We'll have to see how Raz handles that, if he's able to do it. I know Ginso is one of the spots where it feels like you shouldn't need to practice it at any point, because it's, slow in comparison to some of the later parts of the run, but it can creep up on you and end up making you lose a lot of time from just very simple mistakes.
Yeah, Ginso is the epitome of, oh man, this place is totally straightforward. I don't really need to focus on this. There's no major tricks or anything. How the heck did I just lose 40 seconds in Ginso? I don't know. All right. I didn't want a PB anyway. Raziel doing a pretty good job navigating it right now, not having too much of a problem. Took a little damage there, but he's still safe. That, of course, is why people generally take the 4 HP. Fant coming up on the Ginso entrance right now as Raziel does the puzzle room redirect stuff. Doing a little bit of swag there, but he's being careful not to let his swag get him killed. That's good to know. That has definitely happened to runners on good paces before.
Oh, I know it's happened to me. But yeah, he's on his way to Bash now. In just a moment, rather, finishing up this mini boss here. He does actually mash. Do you know if Raz is using controller or keyboard inputs? Because it looks like okay, there's the mouse. It seems that he's using keyboard and mouse inputs, but he must have something bound. A lot of the keyboard mouse runners will rebind keys to their mouse and a lot of abilities and stuff. And
so to do the shooting, most KBM runners these days are putting the Spirit Flame command on their mouse wheel in some direction, and then what you can do, you can't actually just perma scroll it. You can't do the unlockable scroll wheel kind of thing and just shoot infinitely. What you have to do is just kind of do little scroll bursts where it will do rapid series of Spirit Flame inputs and then stop. And if you do that, you can get close to task quality shooting. It's pretty useful. Generally in the Ori community, we don't consider that kind of thing to be cheating or anything like that, as long as you don't make an actual macro. So there's actually quite a lot of that kind of creative binding of keys and buttons and stuff involved in Ori speedrunning, and it actually, more than devaluing the competition or devaluing the game, it actually really helps level the playing field for certain kinds of things. Like, everyone can get task level shooting by doing that, which means instead the challenge becomes you have to look for the mini boss spawns, and that's where your skill is.
Just had a problem with Raziel. He actually missed the key duplication, died a little bit too far to the left. Yeah, it's unfortunate, a kind of costly mistake, but it does give Fant a little bit of time to catch up in his attempt at it later. Raz did get it the second try though, so not a problem.
Oh man,
He's on his way to Bash now.
Ginso is a harsh mistress, as we were clarifying earlier. Like, I mean, I've lost my fair share of runs in Ginso despite having really solid early game. You get to Ginso, and if you're not solid on this, it will very easily cost you huge chunks of time, and it's pretty hard to take, you know, go 40 seconds behind and then take that and save that time later in the game.
Yeah, it's really risky.
Meanwhile, Raz still coming up on this second mini boss and making short work of it, not particularly complex or anything. But makes quick work of it, collects all the XP using a double bash. We don't talk about double bashes a whole lot because they're mostly not required, but it's a pretty basic trick where you bash and then you release your first bash and then 1 frame later start another one. That'll allow you to bash twice. The first bash will aim the enemy and the second bash will aim Ori. And Raziel, of course, is also pulling off his core skip with the properly timed level up. So no problems there. Moving on to the Ginso escape.
Ginso escape did claim quite a few lives from runners so far today. Hopefully it won't be too big of an issue for Raz. It is one of those things that always feels kind of consistent until you messed it up.
Fant took kind of a rough death on Keystone Dupe where he just bashed slightly off and accidentally hit some spikes. But
yeah, well, that will kind of even out. Oh, he's having a second attempt at it that started off a bit rough, but I believe he looks good now.
Oh goodness, having some trouble with Key Dupe. He just, that death is tough to line up perfectly. He managed to get it though, so now he's rekindled. He should be good to go. Raziel coming to the end of the escape. He goes for that bash directly up to the lantern from the spider. That's actually fairly challenging. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, it's certainly not an easy thing. Nothing in this game is generally considered too easy, especially when they involve kind of precise bashes.
Yeah, for sure.
Precise angles for anything.
And that's really the main reason why a lot of runners... there's technically not a huge advantage by going keyboard and mouse versus controller. You could do either, whatever's comfortable with you. However, a lot of runners, in the absence of a personal preference, they will go with KBM. And the reason for that is aiming a bash is much more precise, and you're able to set them up much more clearly if you're on keyboard and mouse, because you aim by just pointing at the screen in a direction, and that allows you to pick out like a spot on the screen where you specifically want to aim for a given trick. Whereas
sorry to interrupt real quick, but Fant looks like he had some issues and he accidentally bashed the frog the wrong way. He may end up having to take a death here, and he will, but luckily he does place a safety save right in front of the core skip area. It is one of those saves that you can do for free since you get an energy refill right before the escape, but it was unfortunate. I believe he had a trash bash, which kind of lines up perfectly with what Vulcan was just talking about, where with keyboard and mouse, you can just point at somewhere on the screen, but with controller, you need to aim with the same analog stick that you're using for movement. So it's really easy to try to bash something backwards and then immediately follow it and end up bashing it the wrong way. And it unfortunately costs Fant some time there.
Yeah, that's what he referred to as a trash bash, where you just re-aim the analog stick too early. And either that or you just let go of the analog stick because you want to do a bash glide, which we've talked about a couple times today. But when you let go, it snaps back, and then it just aims in some random direction, and you are very sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raziel got the Kuro cutscene skip. Always a good one. He's going to be watching Kuro and hearing the Ka! As she expresses her displeasure about, I don't know, whatever, some sort of story thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, you might forget that Kuro is even a thing in this game until you get to the ending cutscene. If you're always skipping that cutscene, so not bad to show it to us. Takes a death though. Gonna have to go for the cutscene skip again.
Oh.
That death was while either going for 5 energy or just trying to get up onto the wall. And we're watching the cutscene again, so giving fans some time to catch up.
Yeah, that's definitely a pretty substantial time loss. Not just the 17 seconds twice for the cutscene, but also the entire length of time he ran towards there. It looked like he was definitely going for 5 energy. That was definitely the angle and movements he would do for that. He just, I guess, aimed slightly low and clipped the edge of the spikes there. So I was going to just wonder, I wonder if he's going to go for 5 energy, and it does appear that he is. So hopefully that will help him out a bit. Oh, goodness.
It was a very odd, very odd setup from the spider there, but double bashed the shot into place and
he did manage to get through though. Fant, meanwhile, coming up on Stomp, as I just realized that I'm behind on marking the 2 runners for the abilities they've collected. Good job, me.
That's okay. Again, it's been 5 hours almost at this point. I'm sure some things are gonna fall, or over 5 hours. Some things are gonna fall through the cracks.
So I see Razzle's going for the long save anywhere set up on the Spirit Tree cutscene skip. That's interesting. Not a lot of runners actually do this. It is theoretically, technically slightly faster, and the interesting thing that it lets you do is it allows you to use a charge flame to break the wall leading into the Valley of the Wind. If you set the save up after getting charge flame, then you can't do that because you won't have enough energy total to do this. Whereas if you use the charge flame here and you have already done the save before the refill, then this energy drop above that stomp pillar will get you back to full, which is where you need to be in order to do the energy route going forward.
Yeah, what's kind of funny is that only saves the time it takes you to climb up the wall and use Stomp to break it instead of the charge flame. So it's one of those super minor time saves that ends up requiring you to do such a longer save anywhere that a lot of controller runners don't go for it, just due to the fact that save anywhere is a very dangerous kind of section, or very dangerous trick on controller when you need to move long distances, since you could accidentally level up a skill. Looks like Raz is going to be going for fast Stompless. The bash looked maybe a bit high. We'll have to see.
It seems probably okay. We're going to find out momentarily. Oh, the shot
was
though
perfect.
Okay,
So,
beautiful.
Raz managing to pick up that cell.
See,
That was
Fanta,
very close.
yeah, it really was. Fanta, we see that he did not skip the Kuro cutscene, and he's also not going for 5 energy. He, the 5th energy does not take that long to get. It does add some safety, but for newer runners, they might not even be confident getting out of that space where that energy cell is, which is totally a reasonable call. There are other ways to get safety energy, so it's not necessarily needed to do that.
Yeah, the other thing is that when learning the game, you may actually decide to opt for a bit slower strats in areas that mean you're actually saving energy just from not doing some charge dashes. So he may already feel that he has enough energy to do all of the safety saves he needs. Raziel is...
Bash for Raz. He had that bird very low.
Yeah.
He recognized it, so at the last minute he decided to do some double bashes instead of an alternative strat. But he managed to make it through, no deaths, so that's good.
Good adaptation. He's actually picking up more energy here. I believe that's because he used the 5th energy that he got to make a safety save before fast Stomple. So
that's
he
right.
picked up even more in order to make that safety save before the frog juggle. He made it through the laser now, so he should hopefully be okay, but he still could potentially kill this frog by accident.
Yeah, that's always a risk. Controlling this frog is really tough. And the frog juggle is a trick that is actually deceptively difficult. At the same time, like, as you get better at the game, you start to feel like, okay, this trick is pretty straightforward. It's just bash this dude up over and over again. But then you realize, actually, this is really difficult because you have to specifically bash him up very consistently up. And if you happen to aim wrong or just for a fraction of a second you put your mouse in the wrong place or whatever, you're in for a bad time.
Yeah, it's it's certainly one that's pretty easy to mess up, and I know a lot of runners said take safety saves for a long time. Meanwhile, Fant just took a death, but luckily made a safety save at the bottom of that shaft with all the birds in it, so not too bad from him.
That is a smart place for a safety save that people have been using since way back in vanilla. Like, that's always been a good spot to just make sure that you're going to be okay. And he's going for Fast Stompless.
Yeah, he made a second safety save in order to be able to go for Fast Stompless. This is something I know he just learned recently. His shot looked okay.
That is really good aim.
Good enough. The movement seemed okay. Oh no, he takes a dash right into the spikes. So he's gonna opt not to do it now. I think he was worried that he might not have made it in time. Yeah. And decided to just kill himself instead of letting the shot hit the rocks and miss the cell.
Decent likelihood. The projectiles from the spider came a little bit slowly, and there was a good chance he would have been going for what we call a sad cellless, where instead of getting Fast Stompless, you miss the cell, and you have to go all the way back up even though you got the trick. So Raziel has acquired Charge Jump. He is well on his way. Things are going pretty good on his side.
It's probably a really good, choice from him. They're a really good adaptation. I can only imagine that while practicing Fast Stompless, it happened to him a few too many times, and that is what caused it. Raz taking a safety save at the beginning of Misty too, which is good.
That's always the cool thing to note about newer runners is whether they have, even if they don't have the experience to know all the different kinds of backups, whether they have the wherewithal to kind of judge whether they're going to be able to do like a new hard trick or not. Oh, Raziel coming in a little bit low on that rocket jump, but he managed to compensate, so no real danger there. And of course he's got 4 HP, so he's safe in that regard as well. Here's Misty going okay. He messes up the bash cancel on that charge dash, so now he's both out of energy and also has to go a little bit safe there, but still hasn't taken any damage, so that's pretty good. Picked up the replacement energy, and he's doing some faster strats again. Meanwhile, Fant is on Sorrow Bash.
Yeah, and this is something that could potentially take him a few tries, both being on controller, so not going to be using double bashes here means that he needs to manipulate both birds perfectly. And on top of that, it is just the hardest trick for newer runners. Looks like he got it pretty quickly, though.
Yep, that, I believe, is second try, so that's not too bad. Meanwhile, Raziel picks up Climb. He's on actually a very solid pace right at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Raziel, to give a quick update, his PB is a 34-minute, 33-second time that he got a little under a month ago, unless he has not submitted a new one, which we mentioned before could be the case.
No, I don't believe he has PB lately.
Yeah, so you never know. We could see a PB in this race. If not, it's at least going to be a very good time for him, it seems, if things continue as they are now.
Yeah, I don't think that he's on PB pace, but he's definitely on very solid pace, so I think he's getting back a little bit of his groove, which is good for him. Unfortunately for him, though, as Fant takes a death trying to set up the frog and another couple ones. Fortunately, he rekindled his safety save, so he can kind of just keep taking tries at this until he gets the frog without killing it.
That is exactly what he'll keep doing for now. But it looks like now he's got him in a pretty good spot and should be able to take him up to the top here.
It is definitely not easy to get that frog into that corridor without jamming him directly into spikes. So.
Oh, absolutely not. I think I practiced that for hours on end when first learning the glitchless run of this game. It's not the easiest of things.
Coming back to Raziel, he is closing on the mini-boss. We're going to see which of numerous quick kills he'll use. He went with Boom Boom Boom. Very good execution. Very clean, no issues with that mini-boss, and he's also coming out with 3 energy, so he can do a fair few stomp cancels, or sorry, charge dashes on the way out. And he opted to take a safety save as well, which I think is a pretty good choice on his part.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all. The 5th energy cell, as we've seen from so many of the runners, just makes for a lot of additional safety. And sometimes just for a lot of charge dashes, like we saw right there.
Yep. This is a pretty common strat for runners to just dump all their energy coming out and then you can just save on the Spirit Wall here. And it's only 4 seconds to do that, but it gives you a ton of additional charge dashes, and if you want, stomp cancels. So it's pretty well worth the time.
Yeah, only once you're starting to really look for every single time save is that one that a lot of people will end up abolishing. Going to be taking the intentional death here to set up the teleporter for later. Oh, the second one here, not intentional, but that's okay. Going for a fancy little stomp cancel and kind of didn't work out too well for him, but he got the second time, and that's what counts.
So Fant just did his Sunstone cutscene skip, and you can see him double-checking his menu to be 100% sure it is possible to skip that cutscene too early. And if you do, you do not get the Sunstone. And if you don't get the Sunstone there with that cutscene skip, you're done. Your run's over. You're going to have to reload another save file and lose a crap load of time.
And I know Fant did that during his practice during the GDQ hotfix stuff. So
yeah, so he made absolutely sure to confirm, and fortunately he did. It's just a matter of waiting slightly longer than you might want to wait there, but then if you do, you're fine. So take that extra half a second to confirm that you've picked up the Sunstone.
Yeah, definitely worth it. Raziel having some nice little movement. The rocket jumps and all that coming out of Light Grenade. Now be making his way towards the Black Emperor's teleporter. And does a fancy little stomp cancel too that we saw from Hetfield earlier today. I like that one. People have been adopting it more because you can actually charge dash directly into an energy crystal and get some more energy.
Yep.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, the strats here at the end of the game, like it's basically just go to horrors. So all you gotta do is kind of look for little things like, hey, where can I use more stomp cancels and where can I, do more with my energy? And there's really not a lot else to focus on at this part of the game. So it's okay to devote some energy and some brain space to that.
This segment still always feels like one that, to me, every runner has a different way of getting through. Like you could watch the top 4 times on the leaderboards and see 4 different ways of how to get to Mount Horror from Light Burst, and it's really funny that even amongst the people who are the closest in times, it's still there's no one correct way that anybody really agrees on.
Well, it depends so much on how much energy you come in with and how you're able to manage it with stomp cancels. Raziel with the first try door warp, that is fantastic for him.
Wow.
So yeah, he's he's clearly not on PB pace, but he's on what appears to be a pretty solid pace, 36-ish probably, which will be very good for him. I think he's going to be pleased to be getting back to that level of consistency.
Yeah, that is an absolutely fantastic time, no doubt.
Fant coming up to climb right now, so pretty solid run for him as well so far. His PB, as far as I know, is 44:21. So actually, it looks like he does not have that submitted, but he sent me his splits before this run, and that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I thought he had around a 44, so that makes sense. He is potentially on pace.
Yeah, if he can have a solid ending, this is absolutely PB pace for him.
And we're seeing
coming
a lot
up.
of very fast charge dashes and everything from him, so he's looking a lot of more confident.
Raziel's going for fish strats. Here we go. Oh, he didn't quite get it. His rocket jump stalled out on the ceiling. But he knows the backup, so he's all good.
And Kuro won't be throwing in the day.
Yep, he crosses the finish line. That looks like it's going to be a low 36. Very good time for Raziel. Definitely, he'll be happy to have that, but at the same time, probably a little bit upset with himself that he wasn't able to have that level of performance this morning to defeat Bryn.
Yeah, but this is group stage, and as far as I'm concerned, you got to have the bad runs in order to get them out of the way for the good ones. So if you're ever going to have them anywhere, group stage is certainly the place to have them.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that, huh?
I think we all do. It's crazy. Fant's deciding not to go for the rocket jump, by the way, coming out of Misty here. Not a bad decision. It's a bit difficult to pick up on and get consistent at early on.
Yeah, and it only saves a couple seconds, so it's not too bad. Plus, it costs you an energy, which you could be using instead on a safety save. So yeah,
so good decision by him there. See if he does another one before the mini boss here.
He does. Good call. He's going for, looks like boom, boom, boom. He almost got it perfect. He came out instead with a boom, 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 pew, 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 pew a couple times and then stomp.
Yeah, it looked like it was about I'll call that a 2.5 cycle. That's what we'll call that. He didn't come out of the ground the last time.
Raziel finishing with a 36-01, so congratulations to him. He takes the victory, his first victory in the group stage to bring him to 1-1. As Fant will finish up his race, and we'll see what kind of time he can get. Again, it's worth remembering that for the group stage purposes, when we seed the final bracket, we're going to take all the first seeds, and we're going to order them in the final bracket 1 to 9 based on their average race time. So regardless of whether you win or lose, you definitely still want to at least go for the best times you can get.
Absolutely, and we'll be doing that for not only first, but of course second, third, and fourth place out of the groups. So if you don't want to end up against Hetfield, you can lose all your matches, but just don't end up having the worst times in all of them.
Don't lose with 55s, lose with 42s.
Exactly, exactly. So Fant is now on his way to Lightburst. Looks like, trying out a fancy little, trying to die to the guy, the suicide slime at the top instead of at the bottom. That was kind of clever. Didn't seem to really end up being faster.
Oh, the laser death. He went for the Yoka cycle. He almost had it. That just refers to the earliest cycle you can get down there, but unfortunately it's pretty tight. And he got caught on the stupid, like the mouth of that laser.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can eat
actually
you up.
He jumped a tad early and got caught on the ceiling at first, which
that's
knocked him back down into the laser. So he recovered really well though and had it on the second try, and also decided to not go with the Baneling strat and instead use a charge jump in order to get him in range of charge dashing the bird, which I've been seeing a lot of the runners adapting to recently.
Yeah, that has just become more popular, like literally yesterday when someone mentioned like, hey, I've been doing it this way, like how come you guys aren't doing that? And Sigma, I think, was the one that was like, wait, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, for a lot of the top runners, they use it as a backup strat if the Baneling dies somehow or they don't have energy to charge dash him, something like that. But for top runners, the backup strat used to be going through the laser room of death, as I like to call it, which is slightly faster, I think, but is unbelievably easy to die in.
No, and, actually, the charge jumping from the right side is about as fast as using the Baneling in the first place, actually.
That's amazing. Just, people have been optimizing it even since I heard that the thing was a strat. So.
It's another one of those cases. This is one of the cool things about newer runners coming. Oh, Fant. Got crushed by the boulder, unfortunately. But good thing he took the save right before it. So that was pretty smart call on his part, knowing that was a risky spot for him.
The value safety save.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, it's one of those things where, because of like kind of group thinking, over the course of time, no one really, like, we had decided on a particular strat to use, and of course it must be faster because we're doing it, right? And so the end result was, everyone kind of got a little bit attached to a given strat, not until you get some new runners, some new blood to be like, hey, we're going to do it this way. You don't always get someone to be able to think about that. So just little things like that, strategy getting to, oh goodness, oh, the laser! Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Coming out of that with 1 HP, taking the damage. It's worth mentioning that dash actually resets your invulnerability frame. So after you take damage, you've got about, I think, a second of invulnerability. And dash resets that. So Fant, in his panic mode, which is absolutely a normal reflex, accidentally dashed a few extra times into that little lava patch. And it caused him some extra damage. But fortunately, he made it to the door of Horu without taking a death, and he is absolutely on PB base right now.
That's unbelievable. I mean, especially with some of the deaths that he's had that have kind of felt fairly costly. It's really nice that he was able to recover and actually perform very well and well enough to still be on PB pace right now. Door Warp is, of course, the final real boss, though.
Oh, goodness. So that was third try. What do we got? Fourth try. Okay, so yeah, he can absolutely PB here. If he's able to have a clean final escape, this is going to be his new personal best time, which will be awesome.
And if I know Fant, then I'm expecting some fish strats. Because Fant is very much like me. He will not give in to people telling him something is not worth going for if it looks like it's worth going for. If fish strats were a half a second slower, I'd still go for him every time. That's all I'm saying.
Well, a little bit of a messy start there, but he's all right. He recovered. He's going to spend a little bit of his energy on charge dashes, so, save a couple seconds doing some... Oh, very nice. Doing some of the charge dash cancels into the lanterns there. And
at the end, I'm
coming in the last few sections. Let's see if he does it. He's going to take this safe, which is good. Definitely don't want to mess around with those giant fire patches. They are insta-death if you only have 4 HP. Here come the fish strats. He got a double bash. He's got the fish right where he needs it, and he gets it. Oh, the start.
Unbelievable.
But he's still alive. Fant finishes. This is going to be his PB. It looks to be about a 43.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations to Fant. And congratulations, Raziel, on winning the race with a beautiful time of 36. It's just a great race. If you're gonna lose, you got to get the constellation personal best out of it, right?
Of course. Yeah, he played very admirably. He did not have any serious major problems. He made sure that whenever he made a particular mistake, it was fixed the next time he did the thing. Sorrow Bash, 1 death, and then he got through cleanly. Everything really that held him up was pretty understandable stuff, and he just did what he needed to do to at least get himself a PB. This is definitely, he'll be very happy. I actually talked to him before this race, and he told me that he was insanely nervous. He's never played for more than 8 viewers, and he was observing at the time that there were 900. But I was like, all the pressure's on your opponent, as Fant comes to a finish 43.03, his new PB. That is a PB by 1 minute and 18 seconds. Congratulations.
Yeah, awesome job, Fant. And even shaking off all the nerves. Like you said, any particular trick that he had trouble with at any point, he didn't fail twice. Except for door warp, but you'll never count door warp, because that could go on for 25 times and have it basically not be your fault.
Pretty much.
He knew where to take his safety saves. He knew where to pay attention, at the Sunstone area, to things that had cost him runs before. And Fant has PV'd in 3 or 4 races now. So if he keeps up this pace, he could potentially be looking at a pretty terrifying time by the time we start the bracket stage.
That's true. And that's one of the interesting wild cards, really, is we've got everybody seated in the groups by their PBs at the time we did the group setup, but everybody's been improving. As I mentioned earlier during the pre-talk for this race, the second place person in my group beat my time recently, so I'm now technically the second place runner in that group. And that will just continue. The group stage lasts 4 weeks. Although the rate people are scheduling their matches, it might not be that long, but so many people are going to get so much better times, and it'll be very interesting to see how the level of play elevates over the course of that play.
Yeah, it's really one of the fun things about tournaments is seeing what, like you mentioned earlier, in your group, you were the first seed, but now Elo Jiminy's time is actually better than yours. So he's kind of the first seed in that group. And it's one of the great things about tournaments that it makes everybody really want to do well and really just sit down and grind out the practice, grind out the runs, and come up with some times that were way better than they even thought they were going to care about.
Coming back to Raziel, of course, he'll definitely be happy to take away his first victory in the tournament. He got a 36.01, which pretty decently close to his PB, around 1.5 minutes. So the amount of kind of slop for him was much closer to what he really wants to see in his races going forward. And it definitely seems like he's getting back to kind of his old level of play before he had to take that lengthy break. And I mean, that lengthy break, like a lot of runners can probably, I mean, if you're familiar with Super Mario Brothers, the runner Cosmic D12 took literally 2 years off of that game. And then he came back and was able to contend for world record really soon thereafter. But he'd been playing for literally years. Raziel has been playing Ori and the Blind Forest since December. So he took a 2-week break at the end of January. And it's like, how are you supposed to, with a month and a half of play and then 2 weeks off, how are you supposed to maintain that same level? And so I think he's done a pretty good job getting back towards that and getting himself comfortable in the game again after that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sometimes a break is what you need. It's kind of funny. You get in your own head about messing up things multiple runs in a row, and sometimes you just take a week off or a couple days off, and you come back and you get that sweet new PB. So Raz showing us that his earlier performance isn't necessarily his level of play, but this is closer to what he actually wants to be showing off throughout this tournament. And with that, I want to mention that Raziel is actually going to be joining Vooligen here on commentary for the next race between Lucidus and Monkley. So I'm going to be hopping out pretty soon. We'll get Raziel in here, and Vooligen gets to have his own little mini interview time.
Indeed. It'll be nice. We don't always have time to be able to kind of talk to either of the runners on stream, but Raziel, of course, will be joining me for commentaries, so we'll be able to have a quick chat with him while we get set up for the next race, which we are doing well on schedule, so we should be starting that in about 11 minutes or so. But in the meantime, we're going to see if we can get Raziel in here.